So I had started a project about 8 years ago with a guy named Lucas Kitchen. And Lucas and I, we were just interviewing people and asking them if they had ever read the words of Jesus.
That's a good question.
Yeah. And so I would say to somebody, I remember going to the train station in Chicago, and I just stand there at the train station and just talk to people and say, at any time in your adult life, I would say I'm taking a survey because I had my tablet and I'm taking a survey. At any time in your adult life, have you ever actually read the words of Jesus, which would be Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John from the Bible? Over 95% of the people that we interviewed, both church people and non-church people, said, never read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never read it.
Wow. 95.
I asked my nephew one time, have you ever read? And he said, well, it never occurred to me that I should.
Yeah.
Like, why should I?
Yeah. That's what the preacher's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what the priest does. That's what somebody else does. Excuse after excuse after reason that people have never read the words of Jesus. We stopped counting at about 1,300 interviews. And out of those 1,300 people, 6 people said, no, I would not under any circumstances even consider reading. 6 out of 1,300.
Yeah, so they're open.
The vast majority of people are willing to read the words of Jesus. I mean, I say to them, at least so that you can be intellectually credible.
Yeah.
So that you can at least say you've examined the words of Jesus. Whether you believe it or not, you've read it.
Most influential man in history.
Most influential man that's ever lived.
Yeah, best-selling book ever. Read it.
Absolutely. And it's so accessible. They can get it on their phones. I've stood there and helped people download the app.
Awesome.
You know, I'll say, well, open your app store and let me just show you where it's at. Yeah. And you can download the app, get it into their phone. Mm-hmm. It'll start sending them notifications. Mm-hmm. And their phone becomes the preacher then. The phone becomes their access to reading the Word of God.
Technology is amazing how you can do that now.
Both my son and my daughter-in-law came to faith through reading the Gospels.
Mm-hmm. The Word of God is alive. It's quick. It's sharper than any two-edged sword. It's Timothy says it's God-breathed.
It is Theonoustos, the breath of God.
Breath. I love it. Now, a lot of the people that I've talked to, I've been on a bunch of podcasts as a guest. And a lot of these podcasters, they're interested in my story because there's kind of a niche. It's a near-death experience podcast. Yeah. And I've talked to so many of these people, and they're all really interested. Once they cut the cameras and the lights and all that, they're like, can I talk to you? And I said, well, sure. And there is such a hunger and a desire to know more. And these are educated people. They've read works of literature. They have a following. They're not just somebody that's, turned on a camera or their phone and recording a podcast. And